Welcome back everybody. Today we're going to be canning some butter. Now we have a terrible day outside today, so I thought no better time than now to can some butter. Last night I did can 10 jars of the cheapest butter I could find at Woolworths. So it was the Essentials butter from Woolies. I went 50-50. I went salt reduced and salted butter. So I got 10 jars out of it last night. What I wanted to do is compare a better butter. So I have Great Ocean Road. It's about $6 a block. I want to do the process today and jar all this up, and then I want to compare these at the end of it and see if it actually does make a difference. So the way I can butter, it's not a tutorial video, it's just the way that I do it. First of all, as you've seen, I did put the jars and the lids through a soap and sanitizer wash, just to ensure there is no bacteria in the jars or the lids. I also put the jars in an oven at 200 degrees Celsius for two reasons. Number one is to make sure there is no germs in the jars, and number two, when we pour the hot butter in the jars, they don't crack. Now the lids, these lids do not need to be boiled before we put them on, so they've been put through the keg wash and the sanitizer, and they will be fine just to screw on at the end of the process. So I've already got my jars in the oven. I'm going to turn my pot on to high, and we'll get all this Great Ocean Road butter into this pot, and we'll start the process. Okay, so for the first part of canning butter, we will have the stovetop on a medium-high heat. We will get the butter to a simmer. When you start melting the butter, it's going to be a very dark yellow color. Once all the butter's melted through and we get this to a simmer, you'll start seeing a lot of foam on top here. Okay, so we're starting to get to a simmer here, and all this white foam is starting to build up on top of the butter. If you have a look underneath there, it's still a very yellow color. We're just going to keep the boil on until this butter clears up. A lot of people do skim that and take it off. I'm just going to leave it on. I find it does incorporate after a while. Okay, so we're exactly 20 minutes in. I've turned the heat down to a low medium, and we're just stirring this every couple of minutes. That's 20 minutes in. Okay, so we're nearing the end here. I am just gonna skim a little bit of this stuff off the top here. What we're looking for is, when we're simmering, we're looking for just air bubbles coming up. Once we have 100% air bubbles coming up, then we will get to jarring. But the idea of skimming this off the top is just to have a clear glass when you jar it. That's about the only reason, as far as I know anyway. Okay, so we're getting very close now. We are at the 35-minute mark, and it's starting to really clear up there. As you can see, it's not that thick yellow color that we had before. This is starting to look really good. Now I've just got the jars out of the oven. They're just sitting on the bench here. What we'll do is we'll give that a little bit longer, and as long as we have just air bubbles coming up like we do, how it's just boiling and it's sort of just like air bubbles, that's what we're looking for. So this is ready. This is ready to go. Depending how big your batch is, you may have to boil longer or shorter. Like last night with the woolly stuff, I did a fair bit of it and it took about 50 minutes to get to this stage. But it's all gonna depend on how many grams you've got in here of butter. So I'm happy with that. So we'll just get straight on to killing the power on the oven, and we can start jarring our butter. Oh, it's very clear. Very, very clear. Now we should nearly be perfect. I did 7 times 240 milliliters or grams of butter, and I've got 6 250 ml jars. With the water loss in it, I predicted it would be around about that, probably half a stick to 1 stick, so should be pretty bang on the money. There might be just a little bit left over. Rightio, what we're going to do now is I have a glass jar with some vinegar in it. We'll dip a paper towel in the vinegar, let that soak up. And we're going to go around and we're going to clean the tops of these jars. Now that's going to get rid of most of the butter off the rim and ensure a good seal. These glasses are going to be extremely hot, so when we screw these lids on, it's going to help the seals seal correctly. I can already tell that this stuff is looking better than the woolly stuff from last night. It smells better. The process even went better with boiling, and it just be interesting to see how we go. So now we will get to lidding all these. So I'll just screw them all on loosely to start with. Shake these every 15 minutes. Right. So now you just pick the jar up by the lid and crank it down. There we go, there's one. Okay, so that's the canning process of butter. As these cools, these lids will seal, and we'll shake these every 10 to 15 minutes until they do change a color like this and solidify. Even this one compared to the Woolies one from last night, this one was very like a misty color when it was in its first stage, so it would be interesting to see how these ones turn out to these. I had a lot of junk in the bottom of the pan with this one. There was some junk in the bottom of that one, but not as much. Now, doing it like this, you'll get a shelf life of around about 1 to 2 years. It's meant to be kept in the cupboard, not the fridge. So this has a shelf life in the cupboard of 1 to 2 years. If you wanted to get more than 1 to 2 years out of it, you can put them in a pressure cooker and put them under pressure for about 90 minutes, and then you should get a shelf life of around about 5 to even 10 years from what I've been told. This is just how I do it. Now I'm canning butter because it's easy to take camping, it doesn't have to be kept in the fridge, and it's got a very long shelf life. Haven't had any dramas with taking butter from the shop really out camping before, but I just wanted to go down this route, so it's in the cupboard ready to go. It's one less thing we have to worry about when we head out. Now I'll come back and I'll shake this every 10 to 15 minutes and I'll bring you through the process. It will take about 3 to 4 hours before we start seeing any change, and then at the end of it we can do a bit of a comparison between the woolly stuff and this new stuff that we've done. We'll put it on a bit of toast and try the flavour, look at the texture, and go from there. Rightio, just giving these a shake. Rightio guys, so we're finally at the end of it here. We jarred this up about 10 AM this morning. It is currently 7:15 at night. Don't let the red lid fool you on this one. I ran out of lids last night. So this is the Woolworths one, which is already halfway eaten, and we only opened this one up last night. Ideally, you probably want to let this one sit for 24 hours before you open it, but I'm back to work tomorrow, so I want to try it now. And that one's nearly gone. So if I open this one up tonight, it's not going to be a big deal. We'll get rid of this one pretty quickly too. So first of all, what I want to do is get a piece of toast get a piece of bread in the toaster. That way we can try our butter. This one turned out pretty good. I did find there was a little bit of stuff sitting in the bottom that we had to shake pretty regularly to get that all incorporated. The colour is a little different to the Woolworths one. I find it's a little lighter. They're not the exact same jar, but I do find this butter is a little lighter. Now, I did have this one for dinner tonight, so I've got a very firm taste of what this one is like at the moment, and it's not too bad. I quite like it. So we'll get this toast going. So once we pop the toast, we'll get a half and half spread, but I'm going to open this up now Ooh. Right. Okay. So let's do the Woolies one first. So the Woolies one, that's the texture. Now I'll get a bit of a. Now that's sort of what you're looking at. Now it's very pliable. Smells really nice, really buttery. So that's the Woolies one. Now we will just clean this knife. Now this is the new one that we've done today. Ideally you'd want to let this sit a little bit longer, but same sort of thing. Very pliable. Now it does smell a little bit different. Very similar, very similar. I would say that is very similar to smell. The Woolworths one has a very buttery smell. Very distinctive buttery smell. This one, same smell but very light. So no way near as strong. There we go. Righto, we'll get it while it's hot. We'll cut him in half. We'll do the Woolies on the right. And then we'll do this one here on the left. Now I wouldn't normally have so much butter on it, but since we're trying it out, I want to give it a fair crack. Alright, so Woolies. Very buttery. It's quite nice. So that's the cheap Woolworths one. That's not too bad. Now the expensive one, see if it's any different. Ooh. Ooh. That's like buttery. That's got a really nice salty texture through it, where the Woolworths one doesn't have that. Now I did go all salted for this one as well, but I did go 50-50 with that other one. Oh, that's much better. Oh yeah. Much prefer the more expensive stuff. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. We'll eat it all. I wasn't expecting that to be so good. So it does matter what butter you buy. Well, anyway guys, that's going to be it for today. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video.